Hi everybody, welcome to Storytime number 3, and today we're talking about fairy stories, something that we all know about. And the special thing about today's session is fairy tales are similar all over the world. And before we start our session on fairy stories, I'd like to say welcome, and particularly welcome Ruby, my friend who's sitting next to me, and Poppy and Hez, who are behind me as well. So welcome. But before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the First Nations, the traditional custodians of the lands in which we virtually meet today. I'm on Warranua lands, and if you know the traditional custodians of your area, you might like to write it in the chat. And it's important that we acknowledge the First Nations people on the lands where we're meeting, because they were the first storytellers whose stories echo across this land. I've been fortunate to work and live in these lands for many years. So let's get back to storytellers. Who's got a favourite fairy story? Ruby, do you have a favourite fairy story?
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Why do you like that?
It's just really magical and about they find a missing bean, a bean, and it goes into this big fairyland.
Fantastic.
It's very interesting.
I like Rapunzel because Rapunzel let down your hair and all the hair goes out the window and her boyfriend climbs up and meets her in the tower. And Poppy, do you have a favourite fairy story?
Tinkerbell.
And why do you like Tinkerbell, Poppy?
Because she does stuff.
Yeah, she's magical, isn't she?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, different fairy stories from different parts of the world might have different names and they might sound different, but they might be about similar characters. And I've recently been to Japan, and I'm going to show you where Japan is. Here's our globe of Australia, and here's where we live in Australia. And when I was on the plane for nearly 12 hours actually, I went to this country up here. So from down here to up here took nearly 12 hours. 2 stops. I had to have a stop in the middle. It was such a long way, and that was where we went to Japan. And this is a Japanese fairy story today. Okay, so it's based or similar to the fairy story that we know about Pinocchio. So who can tell me what happened in Pinocchio? What's that about?
Well, it was about a doll who lied a lot, and whenever he lied, his nose grew really big, or a bit bigger every time.
And you know what, Ruby? When I was a little girl, if I told fibs, and do you remember this, Hez? What did our mother tell us? If you don't stop telling lies, your nose will grow like Pinocchio. So that was a lesson. There was a lesson in that for children, wasn't there? And we notice a lot of fairy stories have a lesson to keep children safe. Yeah. Okay. And also, the similarity between today's story and Pinocchio is that there was an old man in Pinocchio and he wanted a baby so much he built a little boy out of wood. Remember that? And what happened after he built the little boy, Ruby?
I think he became magical or something.
Came alive. He came alive to be his
son.
Giuseppe's son, that's correct. Yeah. So in this story today, there's a little old man and a little old woman, and all they wanted was a baby, and they couldn't find one. Okay, so that's what that story is about. And the story is called Momotaro. That's a Japanese word. Thank you. That's excellent. And every time I say Momotaro in the story, take up your instrument. You might have an untuned percussion instrument, like my drum. And this is my lollipop drum. Doesn't matter what sort of drum you've got, any sort of untuned percussion. I wonder what we mean by untuned percussion.
It has no rhythm.
It doesn't go up or down, does it?
Up or down, it stays in the same beat.
It doesn't become higher or lower. Lower or higher, as tuned percussion does. And Ruby, what are you playing today? Hold it up to the camera.
I'm playing the xylophone.
The glockenspiel.
The glockenspiel.
The xylophone is wood, remember? We learned that last week. And you're playing a tuned percussion. So before we start playing our tune percussion, let's just revise our solfa scale. You ready? With your hands, everybody. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now in this song today, in the rhythm pattern we've only got do, mi, and sol, do, mi, sol. Good. And that is the note, they're the notes C, E and G if you've got a tuned percussion instrument. And I've even written it on a little chart for you today. So let's make sure we know what Momotaro looks like. You ready to say it? Momotaro, Momotaro. How many parts in that word?
4.
Good, 4 syllables. Momotaro, Momotaro. And that means Peach Boy in English. I wonder why it's called Peach Boy, the story. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Okay, so that's the name of the story, Momotaro. And we know it's do, mi, so, mi, do, mi, so, mi. And the notes are C, E, G, E, C, E, G, E. And it's important we listen to those notes and we know what notes sound like. So can you play me C, please, Hez? Do, E, mi, so, mi. Excellent. So every time in the story when I say Momotaro, do you think you can play it on your instrument? Let's practice. Momotaro, Momotaro. It's great when you stay together too. Perfect. Now as well as that, we're going to be learning something else about subject English today too. And I've got this book I want to show you. And it's called Roar Said the Lion. We're not doing this book today, but I want you to notice that, see how Roar's written in a bigger font? And it's darker? Roar went the lion. Say that. Roar went the lion. Okay, so every time you see a different font and it's larger throughout the book, that means it's onomatopoeic language. Words that sound like what they say. Now let's see some onomatopoeic language in this book. Ready? You say it. Right.
Roar.
Went the lion.
Bah.
Went the cow. It's a bit funny, isn't it? It's a bit wrong. Moo. Went the wolf. So they're all onomatopoeic words. I wonder what onomatopoeic words will be in our story today. Let's have a look. I think I've written them down here somewhere. Here they are. I want you to say it like you mean it. Quack! Your turn.
Quack!
Beautiful. Ow! Ow! Wah wah!
Wah, wah!
What do you think will make the wah wah sound?
A baby kind.
I think you're right. Growl!
Growl.
Try it again, Ruby. Growl! Hip hip hooray!
Hip
Hip hooray!
And they're all examples of onomatopoeic words. Okay? They sound like what they say. Yeah. That's a big word for kids to learn, isn't it? Onomatopoeia. Can you say that?
Onomatopoeia.
Great. Have you heard of that from school?
Yeah, we learn about it in
Okay. Now there's some other things about Japan that I wanted to tell you about. Japanese people like folding paper, and it's called origami, and they make little shapes with the paper. And we've got Momotaro, Peach Boy, and we've got his animal friends. I'll put it on this hand and then they can stay there throughout the story. So, Japanese people love folding paper to make shapes and make creatures. So, are we ready for the story?
Yes.
Great.
Why don't you do a story?
Oh, there is a couple of sentences before we start that I want you to practice because we want to build up our words that we know. Isn't he beautiful? You say that.
Isn't he beautiful?
But when you say it, I want you to croon. Say it in a really crooning voice. Isn't he beautiful?
Oh,
Isn't he beautiful?
Great. And that's what croon means. Okay, you say it in a crooning voice. Let's try it one more time. Isn't he beautiful? Your turn.
Isn't he beautiful?
Now these bandits come into the town, to the village where Momotaro live, and they steal all the treasure. And they're mean and they're nasty. And they say to the village people, "We want your treasure! Give us your treasure!" The bandits growled. Are you ready? 1, 2. "We want your treasure! Give us your treasure!" Now your turn.
We want your treasure. Give us your treasure.
Ruby, I think you growled then, didn't you? You had a growly voice. That's excellent. So I'll say it first in the story and then I'll stop and you say it. Okay? So you've got a voice during the story. So you've got lots of jobs. You've got to remember to play Momotaro rhythm pattern. Then you've got to remember to say all of the onomatopoeic language. And then you've got to remember to use your voice as an instrument to say the different characters' words. Reckon you can do all of that? Let's see how we go. Okay, we're ready. Momotaro. A kind old man and an old woman lived deep in the forest. One day, the old woman was washing clothes in the fast-flowing river. A giant peach floated by. So she grabbed it and put it in her washing basket to take home to the little old man for dinner. She took it home to her husband. They placed the peach on the kitchen table and cut it in two with a knife. All of a sudden, these noises happened. Ow! Came a noise from inside the peach. And inside was a perfect teeny tiny baby curled up inside the peach. Let's try that again. Ow! 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 Wah! Wah! Isn't he beautiful?
Isn't he beautiful?
Crooned the old man and the old woman. We'll call him Momotaro. Momotaro quickly grew big and strong. He played with his animal friends in the village. One cold and windy day, bandits raided the village and stole all the villagers' treasures. We want your treasure!
We want your treasure!
Give us your treasure!
Give us your treasure.
The bandits growled menacingly. When night fell, Momotaro and his animal friends followed the bandits' trail and found their camp. The bandits were sleeping around their campfire and the villagers' treasures were in a big pile nearby and they could see them near the fire. Momotaro and his clever friends quickly gathered up all the treasure and put it in sacks on their backs. Then they blew up the bandits' camp, killing them all. The villagers spotted Momotaro and his friends approaching in the distance. How can they kill the bandits?
How can they kill the bandits?
The villagers snickered.
The villagers snickered.
You can imagine their shocked faces and surprised eyes when they saw their stolen treasures strapped to their friends' backs. Show me your surprised eyes and your shocked face, Ruby. Oh, look at you. Shocked face and surprised eyes. Beautiful. That's exactly what it means, isn't it? Surprised eyes are usually big and tall, aren't they? Like that. When they saw their stolen treasure strapped to their friends' backs, everyone cheered, hip hip hooray!
Hip hip hooray!
The villagers were so grateful to Momotaro and his friends that they made Momotaro mayor of the town, and his animal friends his faithful deputies. Momotaro and his friends kept the villagers safe and happy for the rest of their days. They all lived happily ever after. Well done, everybody. Give yourselves a big clap. Now we've got some questions for you. What did you think about the story, Ruby?
I thought it was very nice. I thought it was a bit surprising when they found a random peach floating in between the river.
It was a bit funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then they saved the village and the bandits and stuff.
So what was the main message, you reckon?
Not sure. Maybe don't. Small is big or something like that.
Well, Momotaro was only a boy, but he saved the whole village, didn't he?
Yeah.
So size doesn't matter.
Size.
Did you have an idea, Poppy, about what you thought was the message?
I like it when the peach had the little baby in it.
Nice, I did too. That was my favourite part. Has anything like this happened to you, Ruby?
No, not that I know of.
Have you ever done anything but you were still small but you achieved something much bigger than what you thought you'd be able to do?
Maybe I made it to the finals of the semi-finals of the speech contest.
That's wonderful.
I think I would actually make it.
Congratulations. And do you know anybody like Momotaro in your life?
My friend Alice.
And why do you think she's like Momotaro?
Because she's the best person in the school, really, because she's achieved lots of things, won the speech finalist. She's a school leader in that.
How lovely. Thank you for sharing that. I've got some books that I bought in my holidays in Japan to share with you today. Now I want you to tell me why they're strange compared to books that we read. That's the front cover. And that's the back cover. And this is about a little boy, clearly, talking to his gran, who he loves.
They're back to front.
Yeah, it looks like that the front cover's on the back. Because when we open up the back cover, we've got our end papers, but we've got the end of the story. It's a bit weird, isn't it? So let's go to the back of the book and have a look. Yes, this is the beginning of the story. And how do we know, Ruby, this is the beginning of the story?
Because there's big bold letters.
It's the title, isn't it? And you've got the probably the author there. And then we've got the story. But what do you notice about the words?
The words go down, not
That's a bit weird.
across.
So different, they don't have the alphabet like we do. They don't have English letters. They have Chinese and Japanese letters, and they're a mixture of both, and they go down the page. That's interesting. And we can tell what the story's about. Although I don't read Japanese, I can read the pictures, which is good. And there's another one to show you as well. This one. Here's the front of the book. Clearly is the back. And here's the back of the book, and it's about a little girl and flowers. And we know this is the back because it's the title page that Ruby just told us. We've got the publisher down the bottom. We've got the title and the author, illustration, and the publisher. Even though we can't read any of the words, by looking at the pictures, what do you think the story's about, Ruby? I'll go slowly.
The little girl's walking through the garden and she notices a baby bird in a rose flower, it looks like, and she picks it up, taking it home, drying it with a hair dryer.
Oh, look at it.
And then it's really fluffy.
It is fluffy, isn't it?
And she takes care of it and everything.
Do you want me to keep going to the end?
If you want. They feed it. And then for it
Out of a box.
out of the box and stuff. They're like putting clothes on the dressing thing. They lost the thread. They can't find it.
She looks a bit cranky there, doesn't she? How do we know?
Her face is red.
Yeah. And look, she's got her teeth barred.
Yeah.
And then she finds it on the ceiling. And I wanted to show you the last page before we finish that. What happens on that page, Ruby?
The bird's flying outside.
How beautiful. Do you think they've let it go?
Yeah.
Back to its home and its family?
Maybe.
And that's the end of the book, but even though it's the cover of the book, it's really the back.
Yeah.
That's clever. And so Japanese children's stories are different to Australian children's stories, and the letters that they use are different as well. And I wanted to also touch base about a book that we'll be doing next time, so parents can get prepared. And the story time will be on the 30th of November, 2 weeks from today, and I'll confirm the time on my Facebook group. And there are 2 more before Christmas. There's next time with this text, and the last one we'll use as a Christmas special. How does that sound? And this text, you have a job to do. You'll notice, what are the children doing in this text?
Drawing on the concrete.
They're drawing pictures. And the story is called The Concrete Garden by one of my famous authors, one of my favourite children's authors, Bob Graham. And in the text, the children are drawing pictures about where they live, and they draw a concrete garden. That's where they live. They live in a big block of units, not like you live in a house with a garden. They don't have that. They live in a big block of units. So what I'm going to ask you to do for next time is to draw a picture of where you live and come along to Storytime number 4 to tell us all about your house. How's that? Okay, let's play Momotaro 3 times in a row to finish. You ready, everybody? And I'll play the lollipop drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you for your wonderful attention today. Bye.